Hey everybody, it's Andrew again. Welcome back. Today I would like to speak a little bit about building skills in our new world economy. What I mean by that is you may have noticed that over the past 20 years, a lot of technical jobs, i.e., reading an x ray, have been offshored. Now, you may not be aware of this, but you may go to the hospital to get an x ray and that x-ray is not going to be read by somebody, or it may not be read by someone in that hospital. The images are actually transmitted digitally to an off-site location that may be in the United States. Most likely it's probably somewhere like in India, where someone is trained to read the x-rays but is getting paid a fraction of the rate that that same job would pay in the US. So that's what we mean by the term offshoring. You've basically taken jobs that used to be on mainland US, brought them over to another part of the world because it's much easier to just pay somebody a fraction of the wage that you would have to in the US. That's why we see many things made in China today. So how do you combat something like that? Well, we're obviously not going to be able to stop companies from doing that unless we have a major change in political leadership in this country. The way that's going, I don't know, that's for another video. But what could we do to ensure that we have some sort of a livelihood in the future that can't be offshored? Well, that means you have to have skills that somebody can't replicate with a computer somewhere else. I have friends who are computer developers who, they do very well, but I'm sure at some point their jobs may be in jeopardy. It's probably just a matter of time until they make so much money that somebody overseas can do it cheaper. So, what could I do right now? I think an example of a job that may not be able to be offshore would be, say, truck driving. Now, that may not be the ideal thing you want to do, but it's something I have considered. I have a history in truck driving, doing moving. My interest would be in getting a CDL, commercial driver license, A or B, that would enable me to actually be able to physically do something in this country that cannot be just replicated or shot over the internet to another country. It has to be done by someone here. Another idea I had was for welding. I'd like to take a welding class. Again, that's a job that someone, even if parts of something are replicated overseas and shipped here, like chances are you're going to need welders here on the ground to put those parts together. So truck driving, welding, what's something else that you physically do? I would say right now, any sort of trade, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, something like that that you can get into. It's been going on for a few years now. You hear like, oh, you can't get anybody to do anything. I'm sure there's a ton of people going into trade schools right now. So that will be changing. I don't think it's going to be the absolute gold mine that it seems to be at this point, because it does take you a while to learn those skills and graduate into something where you're making money, maybe just making money on your own as well. But I think blue collar work has yet to see its heyday or its golden age in this country. And if you're looking to secure a job where you pretty much are not going to get laid off or will always be in demand, I'd suggest going to some sort of a trade school or welding, truck driving, something like that. I know in my area it's nearly impossible to get someone to come out right now to do just simple handyman things. I know how to do some things at my house, but do I know how to do everything? No. Do I know how to do everything professionally? No. And that's something that I am willing to pay for so that when I go to sell this house some point in the future, people aren't looking around in horror, because God knows I've seen people who do everything DIY on their house and they don't have those skills. And my God, the house is a mess. So you don't want to end up with a bunch of duct tape on everything in your house. It's well worth it to pay somebody to do things professionally. And if you can pick up those skills, you're invaluable within your community. The medical industry has some jobs in it that seems like we can't offshore. Obviously, nursing, if you have the acumen or the stomach to be able to do something like that, that's good money. But there are a lot of other jobs inside of hospitals. I know some of those like jobs like surgical tech, they need somebody in the operating room. They need people who are going to be sterilizing and cleaning all that equipment. Like that can't be offshore, that can't be outsourced, that has to be done on premise, and they need people and they'll pay good money for it. Now, I myself went to school. I have a bachelor's degree in clinical psychology, which has done absolutely nothing for me. If anything, it has allowed me to apply for jobs that require a 4-year college degree, but I don't think I've ever really gotten any of those jobs. So I'm willing to say it really did not do much. I'm glad I went to college. I did learn a lot in college, aside from psychology. I learned a lot about how people behave, how people treat each other, how to present yourself in a certain manner to be more attractive, whether to be for dating reasons or just employment reasons. I learned how not to do a lot of things too. So now at 46 years old, I need to reapply all those skills into something, a career of some sort, or a job that can't be offshore. I've been actually looking at my local town jobs, although not glamorous at all. Something in your town that pays good benefits and has job security could be a huge advantage to you. I'm interested in not having a commute to work. I'm interested in being local in case something happens with my family, there's an emergency, I need to leave work quickly. When I did moving, I could be, 1,000 miles away. God forbid there's an emergency. I'm just trying to avoid that at this point in my life. Does anybody else have any ideas about jobs that can't be offshored, that people can get in their local area? Reduce your carbon footprint by not driving everywhere, reduce your overhead. Because really, you want to look at your job as sort of your own company. Like if your overhead includes driving an hour plus to work every day, well, that's overhead. That's your gasoline, that's your maintenance, that's your tolls. You want to keep that as low as possible. So there were some other jobs that can't be offshored. Well, certainly wait staff, you need waiters or waitresses or line cooks to bring you food, produce food for you in your community. However, it's very easy for one of those restaurants to go under or have to cut staff, or maybe you just don't get as many hours as you used to because things have slowed down with inflation and people aren't eating out. So I don't think that's a very economically resilient job. That's something that may work in the short term. And certainly some people do turn it into a full-time lucrative career at the higher end of the spectrum. But if you're going to walk into a local brew pub, start working as a waiter or a bartender, that may not be a long-term solution for you. Whereas making yourself invaluable by learning skills such as truck driving, welding, plumbing, electrical, I think is a lot better job prospect that you'll be able to hold down that position or find work easily in the future should something happen at the place you're employed. So let's hear some ideas in the comments. What can people do or what have people done that they feel is almost recession, economic, and offshoring proof for maybe just simple gigs or actually a career? Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll be back with some more ideas in the future.